Hey there. Welcome to Witchy Wednesday. Just coming in just for a chat, just to connect in before the end of the year, before things get even more, we don't want to say the word hectic, but there's a lot that happens this time of year. This year I have 3 Christmas days. I have a Christmas day this weekend with extended family, and then a Christmas day next weekend with immediate family. And then I'm traveling to Australia and I will have a Christmas day there on actual Christmas Day with my sister and her extended family. And so, yeah, feeling into that energy. There's gift giving on one of those Christmas days. So there's a lot going on for everyone. And I think it's a really important time to remain grounded in ourself and in our body, and in feeling grounded and not rushing to get so many things done. And there's definitely the temptation to want to please everyone else and want to do everything for everyone else. And it's a beautiful time for gift giving and celebrating and celebrating the people that we love, but remembering to put ourselves first, to put yourself first in this time as well, and to celebrate and gift give for yourself as well. And I think it's really important to bring ourselves into what we're releasing for the year, and replacing that space that is left when we release with something positive that we're bringing in for the new year, whether that's an energy and how we want to feel, or specific goals and goal setting and intentions as well. So this is a really good time leading up to now before we get to Christmas Day, to really contemplate and start the thought process around what we have achieved this year. And I know there's a lot of struggle for a lot of people, including myself, this year. And so this year I had a nervous breakdown. I've never had a nervous breakdown before. I've definitely had anxiety before. I've definitely had a lot of panic attacks before, but I never had a full-blown nervous breakdown and followed by a mental breakdown. And I know that a nervous breakdown is sometimes considered, or is maybe technically considered, a mental breakdown. But for me, I felt like the nervous breakdown was in my body. Like, my body was not in harmony anymore. I had this internal disharmony, this internal whirring, as someone who I connected with around this when it first happened to me. They explained that it was this, they felt it like this internal whirring in their body where it was very noticeable and it was never there before. And it's not there now. I have regulated that out, and grounded myself back into my body. But at the time, it was like a massive, like, dysregulation of the nervous system and adrenal fatigue, and these things all working into just shutting me down and telling me I needed to rest, basically. So in May, I overdid it big time. And then in June, I just was not communicating very well because of that, to the point where I had to remove all notifications off my phone. I had to unsubscribe to multiple emails. And I had to take all the apps off my home screen on my phone. I had to have very little on my phone. And I think there was a point where I was attempting to and thinking that I was able to plan and do things. And someone had suggested to get back into it, to help organize an online event. And I began to try to do that. and it was massive overwhelm for my mind and for my system. And that was the point where I was like, this is going into like a mental breakdown as well. Like, I had that internal whirring in my body, but I also had that internal whirring in my mind. And yeah, to the point where I didn't open my laptop for maybe like 2.5 months. Even opening my laptop was causing me anxiety, just with having how I used to have it and how we are used to having it, because we multitask, with having multiple tabs open and jumping around and doing different things on different tabs to organize things and event planning and things that I love doing. But yeah, having multiple tabs open on my computer was highly overwhelming for me as well. So I really just had to shut that down and listen to my body and just rest and sleep and purge, and really look at my decision making, or the lack of the decision making, and where I was people pleasing and where I was putting other people's needs before my own, in terms of like doing things for other people, or going and doing things with people that I did want to do, but my energy levels weren't allowing for it, and I wasn't respecting that. So looking at going into Christmas, where are we respecting our energy levels and respecting our nervous system, and respecting giving ourselves time to rest and relax and feel grounded, and having our feet on the earth, especially in the southern hemisphere here, where we can get out and put our feet on the earth even more and more. And for me, during winter, because it was that really like catatonic state of just like neutralizing everything, because I wasn't communicating very well. My brain was not processing information properly, to the point that I could respond to things in a coherent way. Like, I was very discombobulated. There was a couple of times where I went to speak and all my words came out all jumbled, like gibberish, but like slurred. And the person that I was with was like, "Are you having a stroke? Like, what is happening right now?" And I'm like, I got too many tabs open in my mind, and I just need to shut down. Right. So making sure we're not getting to that point where we have too many tabs open in our mind, and we can't integrate that into our nervous system. And so, yeah, bearing that in mind, to not allow this silly season, the craziness of the festive season, to take over. I did go to the mall and buy some gifts the other day, and it was slightly dysregulating for me. But I did manage to meditate and breathe through it, and told myself that there would always be clear spaces in the shops for me to move into. The lines that I stepped into would always move really quickly, and I would always be served quite quickly. And setting those intentions when I moved around the mall, and that was what happened. I didn't encounter any long queues, even though I walked past shops that did have very long queues. Even going into Kmart, they usually have a very, very long queue, but when I went in, I managed to get through really quickly. And so, bearing in mind that we can set the intention that our flow through life can be effortless and easy, we don't have to come up against a constant barrage of like roadblocks. And this has come through as well with something that someone shared around me, that where are we anticipating disappointment? Like, where are we anticipating that there will be a struggle? Where are we anticipating that something is going to be difficult? Because if we're anticipating that, then that is what it's going to be. And that's what happened with me this year with some of my dysregulation, is that I was highly anticipating that May was going to be chaotic, and May was going to be a struggle, and May was going to be so packed full of stuff that I wasn't going to be able to handle it. I remember saying that to people before May even arrived. It was like, I've got so much on every weekend, I'm not going to be able to handle it. And they were like, just focus on one thing at a time. And I'm like, yeah, I know that, but even still, like, so there were probably a few things in May that I could have removed, but I still really wanted to do those because I wanted to connect with those people. And there were definitely times that were beautiful in May as well, and that I really enjoyed, and I really got a lot of value out of, and a lot of beautiful connections with people. But I drained myself so completely. We're pushing myself in every single direction possible, including spiritually expanding, including trying to connect with so many people and make sure those connections are deep and harmonious, and then being triggered by people and their connections around me, and witnessing other people's connections and feeling triggered by those. So I was very much in a huge people pleasing mode, but a state of feeling like other people were really affecting me. And so bringing that awareness for yourself into feeling grounded. And I was doing some study a couple of nights ago. I've told a few people about this already, and the insight around it was really incredible. And so I'm studying NLP. And this NLP study, whenever I do it, the practitioner who is running the course obviously does NLP themselves, and they're a master practitioner, and they do hypnosis. And so every time I do this study, I feel like I'm being hypnotized. I feel like my eyelids are getting heavier and heavier. And every time I do a bit of study, I get huge integrations and huge awareness that comes up from my own nervous system, my own energetic system, that needs to come up to the surface. And this particular training that I was listening to was talking about your timeline. And this is very interesting to me. And so if you want to take some time now where you can visualize this as well, is to think about where you visualize and where you remember things. So if I said to you to remember something from last week, and you take your time to remember what you did last week or what you did last weekend, to think about that. And when you think about it, where do you remember it? Like in your energetic system, in your mind, where do you remember it? And if I asked you to think about what you just did a moment ago, that is more like your present moment. So if it was just a few moments ago, if you just got off the phone with your friend, that's present moment. Still, it's subtle past, but if you were to remember something that you just did, that's where you remember your present moment. And for most people, it's like right in front of you, like this is it. And then if I was to ask you to visualize something in your future, where do you see that when you close your eyes and you know what's going to happen on Christmas Day? Probably you've got plans, you know whose place you're going to be at, you know the people you're going to see. So if you were to close your eyes now and visualize Christmas Day, how does that look, and where do you sense that in your energetic field, in your mind? Like, where do you place that? And so if you think about those things, and practice doing that with a few other different memories and visualizations, it can really help to clear energy and place energy in specific areas. And so I was doing this training, and he was talking about this, and so I was visualizing. And so for me, the two different ways you can place things, and I'm sure there's maybe some people place things slightly different, but these two main ways is your past is behind you, and your present, and then your future is in front of you. And that's how I visualize and remember. And he was saying there's also, if your past is to your left, so if you visualize and you're remembering, and in your mind's eye, or in your energetic field, you sense your past to your left, and then you visualize your future is to your right. And this, as he was talking through this, it was nighttime. It was dusk. We have a lot of twilight here at this time, so it was like 8:30 at night. It was very, very, very shimmering, subtle little bits of light fading. And in my other room, not in here, but I have a blind that I leave open. There's no light pollution here, so I sleep with my blind open so that I wake up to the natural light coming in the morning. And I'm watching this and feeling into my timeline. And out of the corner of my eye, outside my bedroom window, I saw a figure running like blur so fast, just ran. It was definitely a shadow figure. There was no texture or color or rendering. It was just a blur. It had a human head, shoulders, and you could kind of see arms where it was like running. Like, and running's the wrong word to use because it just moved very, very, very fast, like quantum leap. He moves and he's got like all the vibrations coming from behind him. It's like whoosh, gone. And I instantly got chills all over my whole body and just kind of like sat there and put my pen down and was like, that was a thing that just happened. And then, like I said, the training that I'm doing is quite meditative. And so my eyelids were getting heavier and heavier after that happened. I was still trying to listen and write. And I went into a bit of like a kind of like a trance meditation, heavier eyes. And the feeling came through that it was on my timeline. It was from my past, something from my past just kind of like was released or left. And I got the sensation that it was something that had been trapped for quite some time. And then speaking with friends that are quite intuitive around me, we're getting the message as I was explaining this to them that it was something that was desperate to be released, was allowed in that moment. It saw a window of opportunity and it was like, fuck this, I'm out of here. Like, here is the door to be released. She's finally opened it within whatever I was meditating on and working in the few days before, potentially, and intentions that I'd been setting and things that I'd been pondering and wanting to release and working through emotionally and energetically with different programming that I've been working on in my field and 5D consciousness and expanding kind of into that realm. And so, yeah, my good friend, so Sophia, who I do Witchy Talk with, Sophia was sharing that it is, sometimes these things that we hold on to so intensely from the past want to be released, but we don't let it because we constantly are bringing it into the future or into the past by constantly thinking about it or dwelling on it, ruminating, feeling guilt, shame, regret, all those lower vibrational frequencies that I spoke about in previous video about the letting go technique. And it's about surrendering. And in that moment, in however way it happened, I surrendered and something was like, fuck it, I'm out of here. And it felt good. That was really, quite transformative. So allowing these experiences to come into our field by doing the different work to expanding our way of thinking about how things can be released, because I didn't know what there was particularly. It's been a lot of different aspects of different things from my past, from being a teenager that I've been working on releasing different traumas that happened in that time that are being made more aware and being brought up. And there's always new layers of things. We understand that releasing is a cycle. And through NLP, it's a releasing is a cycle, and we release and we think we've let it go. And we have an aspect. And at some point there will be a complete surrendering and a letting go. But while working through and oscillating between different emotional states and feeling depression and then coming out of it and feeling happy and expansive and then feeling depression again and going through these waves of life, that every time we revisit these lower vibrational states, it's an opportunity to reach in deeper, to access another aspect of what wants to be let go of. And quite often I don't know what that was that ran away, but it ran away real fucking fast. And it could have been a culmination of a lot of things. It could have been something that I had created within me that was a culmination of all my fear, all my anxieties. It could have been a culmination of all my guilt, shame, and regret. It could have been letting go of the sexual trauma and the guy that was associated with that. It could have been him like, yeah, I'm out of here now. Like you've let go of that part of it now. Could have been, but it is not necessarily overanalyzing what it is and feeling the space that it allows and filling that space intentionally with beauty, with love, with kindness, with gratitude, forgiveness, and just expansion of gratitude, and all those beautiful feelings of peace, love, and joy. And sometimes we feel guilty of pouring those into us and feeling those things because we're told as youngsters, when we are being silly and playful and distracting our parents from their tasks by being playful and fun, that we are annoying or that we are distracting them, and to not be so loud and not be so, don't skip around the house, you might knock something over, so we shut this all down as a little one. And so I was feeling into that, and I let that running man go. He's gone. He's taken it all with him. So this is been like a journey over this year of doing a lot of plant medicine as well at the beginning of the year, which really opened my perception of like 5D expansion and beyond that. I did a meditation and I was studying at one point Damien Eccles and following his online videos on YouTube. And I was doing a lot of his middle pillar exercises and middle pillar, pillar of light exercises. And he has a book where he explains all that as well. So I was following along with that quite a lot at the beginning of the year through summer and the summer months, sitting outside and doing that. And at one point on plant medicine, I got a huge, pillar of light, but in the form of like a monolith, kind of descend into me as I was doing a meditation. And I feel like that really catalyzed and spun me into the rest of the year. And when we feel things shift and fall away, we have to trust that they're falling away for the best, and trust that it's allowing space for something else to come in. It's allowing space for ideas to flow. So that man running away and leaving, there's a lot of new ideas coming in, which is great, of different offerings and different things that I'm wanting to share and do and be. So it's feeling into that release, and when we allow that space to release and fall away and let go of. So this middle pillar exercise really illuminated and connected me into a higher 5D collective consciousness. I felt like a huge expansion. This pillar descended into me in this meditation, and as it went through each of my chakras, there was symbols that kind of like ching 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 as it was going down me, and I felt I could hear that sound too, like it was like ching 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 ching. as it was going down all my chakras. And I want to work this into a guided meditation as well, but I feel like I'm still integrating this. I've had huge shifts happen this year. And one of them was the monolith descending. And when that landed in my root chakra, it felt like it was landing like a heavy object, like when you see a spaceship land in a movie, and it's like it like lands and the dust kind of whoosh out from underneath it. That's the feeling that I got as it landed in my root chakra. And I felt like so much expansion within all of those codes coming in through each of my chakras. And at that point, I felt like I was one with consciousness in the universe. Like I said, when I was doing these specific plant meditation chocolates that I was receiving at that point were really valuable at that time for what I needed. And I felt like I didn't exist from like here up. I was like, hello, universe. And so I felt like all of that information was coming into me. But as soon as that monolith landed in my root chakra, it all disappeared. But I felt like it had integrated, like it disappeared, like I didn't have that connection instantly, but I felt like it was anchored in me. And so we're going forward with these different meditations, like I spoke about in a different video with the ever expanding heart. Like that was another big shift that I had on the plant medicine. And so that's another meditation and another something else that I'm really integrating. So these core things that I'm wanting to bring forward. So this like monolith grounding of this 5D consciousness into our body, this higher realm consciousness, 5D and beyond as well, this expansion, and then this ever expanding heart energy, and really bringing that and anchoring that in as well. And yes, so I'm culminating and integrating all of that from my year. And I questioned in my Facebook group, and I think I might have said it earlier in this video, I think I did, yeah, where are you anticipating things going wrong? Because my June was really catalyzed by anticipating things going wrong. On my May and my June, I was in these lower vibrational realms where I was anticipating things going wrong with people, with someone that I started seeing. And then that anticipation of something going wrong is putting that vibration out into your field of resonance, and what went wrong was like way beyond what I thought, because it was just, yeah, when we can expand into this shift and then put that intention in, it's like so we've got to be really careful when we're shifting into these states, the intentions that we're putting out there, and anticipating what can go right. A friend that I manifested with came to a good aha moment where she had someone around her at work or somewhere say, what's the worst that can happen? You know, and we're so used to saying that, what's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen with something when we're going to do something? And it's like, actually, she said, why don't we say what's the best that can happen? And that was a huge aha moment for her and for me. And if you have someone around you like that you can level up with, and we level each other up all the time with things, and her realization and her sharing that with me really helped me as well, because now I do say that, and trying to change the way we perceive our world and our universe. And that's this whole NLP training as well, is allowing what we want to come into our field and programming these different parts of our brain, your reticular activating system that is perceiving the things that you expect to see. So if you are anticipating disaster and disharmony, if you're anticipating that someone is going to cheat on you, if you're anticipating that you're going to lose all your money in an investment, if you're anticipating that your family, there's going to be something go wrong with your family, or you're going to get a disease because it's in your lineage. There's this anticipation around it. Like, anticipation is very, very, very subtle manifestation that we do really subconsciously, and on reflection of a lot of the things that have happened this year and last year, and even since COVID, probably since all the lockdowns, and probably beyond that, but I haven't looked too much into that yet. But where has my negative anticipation really like brought that into my field and thrown it in my face? basically, right? And so how can we anticipate beautiful things happening for us, and having that be our natural state? So I do like to use affirmations, but we've got to use affirmations in the right way. We can't just keep rattling off the same thing over and over again and hoping it's going to change, because it has to feel right. And if we can say, I feel, I see, I hear, instead of just saying I am, then it's bringing it into like our 3D reality. If you say, and this is your reticular activating system again, so that part of your brain that is like perceiving and allowing into your field what you think that you're going to see. And I've started saying, I see beauty and love and connection and happiness and joy all around me, and people are showing up in that way. And the people that are coming into my life and showing up are radiating in that way. And so trusting and knowing that if you're putting that frequency out there, that the people that are reflecting back to you are of that state. And if we're putting out anxious worry about how people are showing up and how we're showing up, then these things are going to manifest, whether they take 2 minutes or 2 days, 2 hours, 2 years and beyond. So yes, so I want to also talk about my dark moon ceremony as well this weekend. We're going to journey with Kali Ma and Anana. We're going to go into surrendering and releasing those things that have happened this year, and replace them with beauty and love for next year. And reprogramming the subtle assumptions, the subtle anticipations. Because anticipating something's coming that is negative is manifesting. And if we can figure out why we are anticipating disaster instead of anticipating beauty and joy and love, if we can get into that and release it without needing to know what it is, it can just be like a shadow man running out of your energetic field. He ran. He was so keen to get out of there. He was gone. And yes, so I'm going to have more offerings in the new year. I've got some exciting things that I'm going to be offering, and bringing in more past life regressions and different aspects of past life regressions that we can do. There's going to be more ceremony, more oracle and tarot card reading, and more sharing. So yes, so thank you for joining me, and sending you on your day. Let's stop down here.